Okay, let's do this one last time.
Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, say what's up, it's your boy King, Amanda King. Welcome back to our main event Monday. There's a question. Who is Mr. SummerSlam? We all know that Mr. WrestleMania is or was Shawn Michaels, but when it comes to SummerSlam, who takes the title? I would say Brock Lesnar. He's main evented and won 6 of the past, 8 SummerSlams? No, not the last one, not the last one. I believe Brock Lesnar is Mr. SummerSlam. I think the only people he's lost to is The Undertaker and Seth Rollins. And that speaks volumes. So hopefully superkickstudios agrees with me. So before we start, can y'all do me a favor and subscribe? Once you've done that, like. And if y'all think this video is fire, share it to your friends. Share it to your mama, your mama's friend, your friend, your girlfriend's girlfriend, or other boyfriend. Share it to everyone. And yeah, let's get into the video without wasting any more time.
The greatest squash of all time, one-on-one clinics, car crashes, all-time brawls, facing the greatest to ever lace them up, legendary returns, and everything in between. That's the resume of arguably the greatest performer in SummerSlam history, that being Brock Lesnar. We all know the title of Mr. WrestleMania belongs to the Heartbreak Kid himself, Shawn Michaels. His resume of consistently stealing the show with legendary matches to top off equally legendary rivalries is nothing short of brilliant. But when you look at the second biggest event of the WWE calendar year, the case is there for Brock Lesnar, a guy who since his return to the WWE in 2012 has become a staple of that event and through the past decade has dominated the show of the summer in every aspect imaginable, from being the biggest stories to the craziest moments to the overall buzz that he creates going in and coming out of the event. But the question is he actually Mr. SummerSlam? Well, let's go year by year and look at his resume. Let's go back to his rookie year in the WWE, where 4 months after he debuted, he faced The Rock for the WWE title in the main event of SummerSlam. Now, SummerSlam 2002 is a legendary pay-per-view as it is, but to top off that show, Brock Lesnar won his first ever WWE title. He did it at age 25. That's nothing short of legendary. One of the most memorable SummerSlam matches ever. Not the greatest match of all time, but nonetheless, the torch had been passed to the next generation. This not only began Brock Lesnar's iconic career, but his SummerSlam dominance. Also here would begin a string of high-level matches against opponents that you can easily classify in the GOAT category. The following year, Brock Lesnar...
But honestly, question, what's with this border around the beach? Like, why? Nah, it's fine.
Lesnar met Kurt Angle for the WWE Championship. I think this match was great, but it's muddied by unnecessary shenanigans at random points in the match. It's not as good as their Mania 19 match, but nonetheless, if you want a good mix of power moves, close falls, and strong wrestling because, of course, it's Kurt Angle, then this is a must-watch for you. It's a good match, an amazing back-and-forth contest where Brock would eventually tap out to Kurt Angle, bringing his overall record to 1-1 at the event. Following this SummerSlam, Brock wouldn't compete at that event until 2012 because he departed the company, and when he came back, he faced off against Triple H. Brock was now on a part-time basis, and they used that story to build for this match. This story was the premier rivalry of 2012, with the tagline being the perfect storm. Triple H refusing to give Brock Lesnar his demands as a part-time performer, so Lesnar broke Triple H's arm, he broke Shawn Michaels' arm, and they presented him as the dude who was just there to cash a check. We get to the match and it's a bit of a slower encounter, nonetheless a gritty match with both guys kicking out of each other's finish. This match was more so a bridge to build to the following year's WrestleMania and kind of present Triple H as washed up, if you will. They teased the whole retirement with him, And the one thing you'll notice is Lesnar pre-UFC was a lot more willing to work a different style. He did a lot more pro wrestling moves in the way he moved and how he paced his matches, but when he came back, he was a special attraction. When he came back, it was more so just big power moves and him being presented as an unconquerable villain. And if they wanted an attraction, the next year's match was nothing short of that. In 2013, we got one of the greatest SummerSlam matches you'll ever see. CM Punk, Brock Lesnar, 20 some odd minutes of just brilliance. Before the match, we had a very compelling story executed in the whole breakup of Paul Heyman and CM Punk. Heyman bringing back Brock just to prove that he was always better than Punk. This match at SummerSlam had something for everyone. You want to see violence? You had it. You want to see Brock ragdolling someone? You had it. Weapons? You had them. Drama? It had it. From start to finish, Punk and Lesnar put on a high-octane, balls-to-the-wall match with no lulls in the action. And the points where there was no moves going on, the crowd more than made up for it.
Honestly, we gotta give Brock his due. This guy knows what to do, when to do. Like, you give him a job and you pull out. Maybe there are some matches where you like Dean Ambrose versus Brock Lesnar versus me. Yeah, there are some matches where you like, why? SummerSlam or Randy Orton versus Brock Lesnar 2016. But honestly, other than those two matches, I mean, he has like Drew versus Brock was kind of lackluster, but there was a goal behind that match. But like, yeah, he knows what he's doing most of the time. I would just sit back and watch.
Took the win in an absolute barn burner. Again, this is one of two SummerSlam matches that Brock hasn't main evented, but this easily could have. So up until this point, Brock's catalog of matches had become very diverse. In-ring classics, slower pace fights, top tier no DQ thrillers. Well, what came next was something no one could have expected. It was 2014 and we got the squash of a lifetime.
This was the beginning of Suplex City, dog. 17 German suplexes to one man. And John Cena took them all like a champ. Wow. Beautiful. It was beautiful.
Brock Lesnar. This was labeled as the biggest fight of the summer. Brock had just came off beating Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania, and John Cena, well, he was John Cena. How many times over the past decade had he really been dominated? Think about it. This was the top draw in the company. Here we got something that you never thought you would see. For 16 minutes, Brock Lesnar dominated John Cena. He hit him with 16 German suplexes and Suplex City was born. Cena got in maybe a minute and a half of offense this entire match, and keep in mind, again, this was the company's biggest moneymaker. This guy was presented as a comic book hero come to life, but he was no match for Brock. The booking of this match is insane, and it has its own brilliance to it. The crowd was even stunned at what they were watching. All you heard was this one little kid's echo throughout the entire match. That poor kid was just chanting, "Let's go Cena," and everyone else was just stunned. And throughout this match, we're all expecting, oh, here comes Cena's comeback, he's about to Hulk up. No, Brock Lesnar cruised to the win and became the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And if you want to talk about buzz, you want to talk about making waves, you want to talk about leaving your mark on a pay-per-view to the point where when people think about SummerSlam 2014, they go, oh yeah, Cena got mauled. Who in their right mind expected this? This was honestly perfect. You had Brock beat Taker's streak and this solidified him even more. This is how it should have gone. The most dominant win of dominant wins. The most decisive ass kicking of decisive ass kickings. Probably should have called the LA Police Department because this was a flat out assault. And assaults were exactly what were happening the next year. Next year we had Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker. These guys were having locker room clearing brawls, and I talked about Lesnar breaking the streak. Well, that was the topic of the next year's SummerSlam main event. Immortality for Brock Lesnar and redemption for The Undertaker. After Brock just kept bringing up that topic over and over again, Undertaker was back for revenge. And these two, they put on a decent match.
They brought the most liked video on YouTube. The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar brawl before the SummerSlam match.
Taker, despite having clearly taken a step back, could still go with the right opponent. This match is more muddied by its finish / non-finish, where when the bell was rung, Undertaker tapped out of sight, only for the ref to be distracted, call for a restart, and Undertaker hit a low blow. Lesnar then passed out to the Hell's Gate and he had another loss to his record. Another SummerSlam headlined by Brock Lesnar, and again, my point, he's the talk of the summer in WWE every year. If you thought this was shenanigans, just wait for the next year. Here we had a dream match, a match that hadn't happened since early on in these two's career. Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, two of the absolute best who came into the WWE at the same time, and now 14 years later it was gonna headline a SummerSlam, just labeled as a flat out fight. These two put on a decent match. It wasn't anything crazy, but the finish was Brock busting Randy Orton open from the head. He left him in a pool of blood and the match ended with a knockout for Brock. I don't know if you guys remember that song from 2015, you know, the Brock Lesnar remix.
Leave you in a pool of blood, piss and vomit. Leave you in a pool of blood, piss and vomit. Leave you in a pool of blood, piss and vomit. Leave you right in that there pool, yeah!
Yeah, he literally left him in a pool of blood, maybe piss, maybe vomit. He busted him open, and again, what was everyone talking about after SummerSlam? Brock Lesnar. This put him over big time as someone who was just violent, remorseless, badass, relentless. What more adjectives can I use? And then he even F5 Shane, and that led to nothing. This man the next year got even more psychotic. This time he'd walk in as champion for the first time in his SummerSlam career. He was facing off against two Joes and a Stro. I'll see myself out for that one. Anyways, this match in SummerSlam history has to be top 10, right? Like, he was facing off against two Joes and a Stro. I'll see myself out for that one. Anyways, this match in SummerSlam history has to be top 10, right? Like, they just let four big guys go out there and break shit down. Everyone's being thrown left, right, and center. And then Braun Strowman decides, I've seen enough of Brock. He tries to kill...
We all thought that there's no way Brock is coming out this as champion, especially after
Brock.
this spot.
First, Brock gets speared through the barricade by Roman, and then Braun hits him with two running power slams into the announce table. But we weren't done yet. Strowman tips over the announce table, Brock gets wheeled out of the arena, and we're like, alright, triple threat for the time being. They're gonna take the title off him. Nope. Brock Lesnar comes back, destroys everyone, F5 to Roman, see ya bye, it's over. It was Reigns who he faced the following year in a very fast-paced and short match for the Universal title. This would begin a string of back-to-back losses of that same Universal title. First to Reigns and the following year to Seth Rollins. The Rollins match was just an excellent showing for both men. You know, you can pick out certain matches where Brock is motivated and you see it, and this is one of those. When he wants to go, he can go. Angle, Punk, this one against Rollins, the 2017 main event, they're all spectacular. The neat part here was, it's Brock Lesnar. Anytime someone beats him, it's huge. He made Rollins look like a legit superstar in this match. I think back to a bunch of different spots, mainly where Rollins put Lesnar through the announce table. This one was fast paced, it was intense, it was just a fun main event. And by the time Rollins won, these two had the adrenaline of the arena so high that it felt like everyone was cheering on Rollins.
What happened to Seth Rollins after this was so uncalled for. He was at the top. He was at the top. He should have stayed at the top. He should have been the longest reigning Universal Champion of all time, not Roman.
Trust me, bro, I was there. No more matches have followed this one, but he made a grand return at SummerSlam 2021. New look, new motivation, and keep in mind, this is the show where Reigns beat John Cena with one spear. But the talk of the wrestling world after SummerSlam was the man who's dominated it, Brock Lesnar. So that's a rundown on Brock Lesnar's SummerSlam resume, and it's nothing short of spectacular. He's left his fingerprints all over this event since his debut in 2002. Brock's competed at 10 SummerSlams and he's main evented 8 of those shows. He's faced off against 11 different opponents, and only one of those opponents, that being Samoa Joe, is not a former world champion. That goes to show you that he's been in the ring with the top tier of WWE superstars. Honestly, just look at this list of names: Rock, Angle, Triple H, CM Punk, John Cena, Undertaker, Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins. That's a who's who of WWE talent on his resume, and what makes his case for being Mr. SummerSlam strong is the catalog of not only the matches, but the high profile rivalries. Date yourself back to any year between 2012 and now, and the guy who's at the forefront of every summer is Brock Lesnar. Also, upon rewatch, a lot of Brock's best matches at this event haven't been reliant on being finisher fests. The builds have been strong coming in, and the matches have always been something different and something refreshing. It's the elements of surprise. There's always something different to watch. He's gotten
Give me Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar anytime, any day. I'm happy.
For the show, and
No
if
matter
you
how
weigh
many
records
times
heavily,
they
it's
face
not
each
the
other.
strongest, but it is a winning record. That being said, like most things in wrestling, this is up for debate. So let's see who else has the case for being Mr. SummerSlam. When this conversation comes up, the immediate counterpoint for a lot of people will be Bret Hart. Bret Hart has an overall record of 7-4 at the event, and to his name, he has a very strong catalog of matches. Owen Hart at SummerSlam 94 in a steel cage, probably my personal favorite of his at SummerSlam. British Bulldog at SummerSlam 92, Mr. Perfect at 91, Undertaker in 1997, and you go back and you watch any of those and you're gonna enjoy them. SummerSlam first aired in 1988, and the guy who really made that event his was in fact Bret Hart. You could also qualify him as the original Mr. SummerSlam, but does Brock have him beat today? I look at it like this: Bret made that show his, and for a time he was Mr. SummerSlam. But when Brock came in, he really took over that show's legacy, and again, he left his impact all over the show of the summer. He's got the longevity, he has the consistency, he has the matches, he has the build. He's got that drawing power on a yearly basis. I put it to you like this: take Shawn Michaels, we call him Mr. WrestleMania, and whether you agree with that is beyond the point. But let's say someone were to come in and over the next 15 years, just dominate WrestleMania. Every year it's this unnamed person show, from matches to feuds to consistency and everything in between. You would then have to reevaluate, like, sure, Shawn has that title, but this new guy who's in, he's outdone what Shawn has. It's like Wayne Gretzky in hockey. Gretzky's the GOAT. This obviously won't happen, but hypothetically, let's say someone comes in, scores more points, has more wins, more championships, more individual awards, and just wreaks havoc on the league. Well, you can't consider him the greatest of all time anymore. You'd have to reevaluate. Just because someone had a title doesn't mean it's theirs to keep. That's how I look at it. All the respect for Bret Hart, but I do think this title belongs to Brock Lesnar. Bret, to his name, has 4 SummerSlam main events to Brock's 8. Now, again, which one would you rather take? That's your call. Another name in this mix is John Cena. He's competed at 14 straight SummerSlams, but he has a negative record at the event. He's 5-10 all time. His standout matches are classics with Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, AJ Styles, and another guy who could hold this title, Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is a legit contender to this title. This dude, every time he's competed at SummerSlam, has not missed. Edge, Ambrose, Cena, Balor, tag teaming with Ambrose against the Bar. The dude even got a good match out of Dominic Mysterio. That tells you how good
They match between Tulsi. This match, dog. This match was gold.
The craziest part is he's achieved a Grand Slam at SummerSlam alone. Undertaker, he's 10-6. Edge, he's 12-2. Triple H, he's sneakingly had a really good showing at SummerSlam. He has an 8-5 record. Of course, as everything, it's open to discussion. So again, we come back to this question: is Brock Lesnar Mr. SummerSlam? I say yes. I say there's been no competitor who on the yearly has made this their home, made this their show. This dude didn't compete at this event for 8 years, and he still came back and he absolutely ran SummerSlam. And not only that, but he's given us a diverse catalog of matches against top tier talent in the WWE, with a resume of unforgettable moments, rivalries, matches, and returns. It also helps him that he's front and center on every SummerSlam poster under the sun. But look at SummerSlam as a whole. When you look at the history of it, Brock is the guy who's left an indelible mark on the show. Every summer when that show rolls around, coming in, the focal point is Brock. When it ends, it's something about Brock. Brock Lesnar, for the better part of the past 20 years, has made SummerSlam his playground and continues to dominate the biggest party of the summer unlike any superstar ever has. Talk to me in the comments below. Do you think Brock Lesnar is...
I do. I sincerely do. And I'm glad that superkickstudios agrees with me that Brock is Mr. SummerSlam. Well, that's it for the video. Make sure that you like, comment, share, subscribe. If y'all agree, say that in the comments below. If y'all disagree and see someone else's, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it in the comment section below. But as always, let there be vibes.